Brian Laundrie seen with 2 cell phones in body cam footage despite telling cops he didn't have a phone. Body cam footage of police responding to a violent clash between Brian Laundrie and Gabby Petito shows Laundrie handling 2 cell phones, despite telling cops he has no phone. When pressed by a Moab police officer about whether he had a cell phone, Laundrie said that he was phoneless and feared he would be without the means to communicate as he and Petito were separated for the night. A park ranger asked Brian to retrieve Gabby's cell phone and he can be seen giving one he apparently pulled from the passenger seat of the van. Credit, Moab Police Department. The police footage later shows Laundrie handling a second cell phone, despite telling cops he doesn't have a phone. Credit, Moab Police Department. I was holding onto the keys because I didn't want to go anywhere, and my big fear is, I don't have my phone, he said during the interaction with police and park rangers following the couple's physical feud on August. I don't have a phone. So if she goes off without me, sick, I'm on my own, the 23-year-old explained to the officers. The footage, captured 13 days before Gabby was last seen alive, shows van life YouTuber sobbing to police after the couple drove the transit van into the curb during a fight. As Gabby, 22, sat in one of the cops' SUV units, one of the officers pointed out the cut on her left cheek and red soreness on her left arm. Gabby looked at herself and said, "I don't know." The couple drew the pursuit of authorities after they were witnessed getting physical at Moonflower Cafe. They were talking aggressively, at each other, and something definitely seemed off, one of 2 witnesses wrote in the statement to police. At one point, they were sort of fighting over a phone. I think the male took the female's phone. It appeared that he didn't want her in the white van. Authorities quickly caught up to the couple's van, which was speeding and ended up abruptly crashing into a curb. Cops quizzed Brian outside of the van. About 42 minutes into the cops' body cam footage where both Brian and Gabby are each interviewed separately, Brian is asked to produce Gabby's phone. He is then escorted a few steps with one of the park rangers to retrieve Gabby's cell phone from the front passenger side door of the white transit van. The ranger appears to bring the phone to Gabby. Moments later she announces, she's got her cell phone. That device rested on Gabby's lap during further questioning while she remained seated in the back of a police SUV unit. Meanwhile, Brian is seen slipping what appears to be a different phone into his pocket, according to video analysis first reported by WFLA. About 55 minutes into the over hour-long recording, Brian can be seen pulling a phone out of his shorts pocket. It's unclear if either of the phones that Brian handled while he was talking with the officers were contractually his. Authorities decided to not bring charges of domestic violence against either Gabby, whom they suspected was the aggressor, or Brian. Instead, they made them promise to separate for the night, with Brian getting a motel room and Gabby taking the van. When asked if she had anything she wanted to say to Brian before they were to be separated, she said, "Make sure he doesn't forget a phone charger." Petito returned from the cross-country trip alone weeks later on September 1, before vanishing from his family's Florida home as cops searched for Gabby, whose remains were found in Grand Teton National Park, Wyoming, on September 19. 10 days before he vanished, Brian bought a new cell phone from a local Northport, Florida AT&T store. The Laundrie family's attorney Steve Bertolino confirmed that phone was in the possession of the FBI. Gabby's last interaction with her mom, Nicole Schmidt, involved her receiving an odd last text before communication stopped. In the August 27 text to her parents, the vlogger wrote, "Can you help Stan? I just keep getting his voicemails and missed calls." Some speculate the text was coded alluding to Eminem's son Stan and that Gabby was crying for help. Bertolino insists that the phone wasn't a burner phone but that Brian utilized an account with AT&T for the new device, according to WFLA. The couple was around 2 months into their planned 4-month cross-country road trip touring the U.S. national parks before Gabby vanished sometime around August 27. The young woman's death was ruled a homicide. The speed suggests that there are likely visible signs of trauma consistent with an attack. Jennifer Shen, retired San Diego Police Department Crime Laboratory Director, told The Sun. The investigation into Gabby's murder continues and the official cause of death hasn't been released. The police footage was released amid an ongoing frantic search for Brian, who disappeared from his parents' Florida home days after returning from their cross-country vacation without her on September 1. Gabby, who had been traveling across the country with Brian in their camper van since July 2, was last known to have been visiting Grand Teton National Park in Wyoming on August 25. She was officially reported missing by her mom on September 11, 2 weeks after she'd last spoken to her daughter on the phone, and 10 days after Brian returned home to Florida in Gabby's van without her. He failed to alert police or Gabby's family that she was missing. Brian then reportedly vanished on September 14, 5 days before Gabby's remains were discovered in the Spread Creek Dispersed Campground area, in Grand Teton National Park. A manhunt has since ensued with Brian being named as a person of interest in the homicide death of Gabby's. He's been missing for more than 2 weeks and is wanted on a warrant for alleged bank fraud after running up $1,000 in charges on an unauthorized debit card that reportedly belonged to Gabby. Brian pulled a phone from his shorts pocket, despite initially telling the officers he didn't have a phone credit, Moab Police Department. Gabby used her phone to contact her parents and it was spotted on her lap during the body cam footage, credit, Moab Police Department.